The wind moves gently through the tall grass as the sun rises over the ridge. A place that once carried laughter, heartbreak, and the weight of unspoken promises waits in silence. The wooden cabins stand like sleeping ghosts, holding memories of battles fought and love that endured storms. Now the sound of hooves breaks the quiet. Two figures ride slowly through the mist, their silhouettes glowing in the golden light. They are coming home, but this home is no longer the same. Jamie lifts his gaze to the rolling hills, and for a brief moment his eyes soften. This land shaped him, tested him, and carried his blood and sweat. Each tree he passes feels like an old friend watching silently from the edge of the woods. He knows every curve of the path, yet today it feels like he is seeing it all for the first time. The years of war and loss have aged him, but there is a quiet strength in the way he sits tall in the saddle. Claire rides beside him, her hands steady on the reins, her heart beating faster with each step closer to the place they once called their safe haven. She can smell the earth, rich and wild, and it reminds her of long nights by the fire when they dreamed of peace that never lasted. As they reach the ridge, the cabins appear through the thin veil of fog. The wood has grown darker with time, and vines crawl along the porch rails as if nature tried to take back what was once theirs. Claire slows her horse, her eyes tracing every crack and shadow. She can almost hear echoes of laughter from the past, soft voices of children, the creak of the old rocking chair. But the silence now feels heavier, like the land is holding its breath. Jamie dismounts and stands still, boots sinking into the damp earth. He takes a long breath that tastes of pine and memory. He had promised himself he would bring her back here someday, no matter what it cost him. Claire steps down beside him. For a moment they stand without speaking, just listening to the soft hum of the forest around them. She can see the ghosts of who they used to be moving through the yard, their younger selves running with wild joy, unaware of the storms that would come. Jamie looks at her and nods, as if to say, they have survived everything that tried to break them. They are not the same people who left, but this land still knows their names, and now they must see if it will still welcome them. The morning light spreads gently across the ridge as Jamie and Claire walk through the empty yard. Each step feels like turning a page in a book they thought had ended long ago. The soil is rough beneath their boots, yet it carries a warmth that whispers of renewal. Jamie bends down and runs his fingers through the earth, letting the grains slip between his calloused hands. This land had seen blood and fire, yet it still breathes. He rises slowly, his face calm but lined with silent determination. Claire watches him and feels a strange mix of relief and unease. She knows the man beside her carries the weight of countless battles, yet here he stands ready to rebuild what was lost. Inside the old house, the air smells of wood and time. Dust floats like tiny sparks in the sunlight pouring through cracked shutters. Claire moves her hands across the familiar walls, feeling the grooves carved by years of laughter, tears, and hurried footsteps. She pictures evenings by the hearth, Jamie's voice low and steady as he planned the future, while she stitched torn clothes and whispered dreams about raising children in peace. Now those dreams flicker back to life, fragile yet glowing like embers buried in ash. She breathes in slowly and lets the stillness settle in her chest. Outside, Roger carries firewood across the yard, while Bree fixes the broken door hinge. The children chase each other around the apple trees, their laughter echoing across the ridge like bells. Life returns in small pieces, scattered like wildflowers. The cabin, once silent, now hums with the rhythm of family voices. Jamie watches them from the steps, his hands resting on his knees. For a brief moment, the tension in his shoulders melts away. This is what he wanted. This is what he fought for. But under the calm, a shadow lingers. The forest stands too still, as if listening. The ridge has seen peace before, and it always came with a price. Claire glances at the tree line and feels it too. She wants to believe they can start again, that the ghosts of the past will stay buried. But the silence of the woods feels heavy, like a held breath. She turns to Jamie and he offers a quiet smile, though his eyes stay fixed on the horizon. The land may welcome them, but it has not promised to keep them safe. The ridge may look calm under the morning sky, but the past has a way of finding its way home. It slips in like a chill through the cracks, unseen yet impossible to ignore. Jamie stands near the fence line, scanning the woods as if expecting something to step out from between the trees. His jaw is set, his shoulders tense, and for the first time since their return his gaze feels like armor. Claire watches him from the porch, and senses the same invisible weight pressing on her chest. The air tastes different here, sharp and restless, like a storm waiting beyond the hills. A letter arrived with them, tucked deep inside the saddlebag. Its edges were worn, its seal cracked, yet the message burned fresh on the page. It carried no name, only a warning written in a hand Jamie once knew well. The words spoke of unfinished debts, of old oaths never forgiven, and of eyes still watching. He had hoped time would bury the past, but the past has claws. Claire found him holding the letter long after the candles had burned down, his fingers stained with wax, his mind somewhere far beyond the ridge. He did not speak, yet she could hear the silent roar of everything he left behind rising again to meet him. Strange footprints appeared near the stream at dawn. Roger found them first, half hidden in the mud, shaped like boots, yet lighter than any man would wear. He said nothing in front of the children, but his eyes shifted quickly toward the tree line. Later, Jamie followed the trail alone until it vanished into the moss, as if whoever left it knew how to walk without leaving a sound. He stood still, listening, and the forest held its breath. Claire feels it even inside the house, an unease that curls at the edges of her thoughts. She keeps glancing at the windows when the wind rattles the shutters, expecting a shadow to pass. The nights are quiet, yet too quiet, like silence stretched too thin. She tries to reassure herself, to believe they can start anew, but deep down she knows this land remembers everything. The ridge has not forgotten their enemies, and neither have their enemies forgotten the ridge. Even as the ridge begins to breathe again with the sound of life, quiet tensions weave through its walls like unseen cracks. The family moves together during the day, yet each carries their own shadows when night settles. Roger walks the yard with an axe in hand, splitting logs with sharp, precise strikes. Sweat glistens on his brow, but his mind drifts elsewhere. He speaks less now, his laughter buried beneath layers of watchfulness. The safety of the ridge feels fragile in his hands, and he fears what it would mean to fail those he loves. Brianna hides her worry behind a determined smile. She fixes broken hinges, mends torn clothes, and hums lullabies to the children as if nothing weighs on her heart. Yet when the children run off and her hands fall still, her eyes go distant. The ridge was supposed to be a promise of peace, a place where her children could grow without fear. Instead, she senses danger like a shadow creeping along the edge of every happy moment. She glances at her father when he sharpens his blade at dusk, wondering if he feels it too, wondering if he regrets bringing them back. Claire tries to hold them all together. She spends her mornings in the garden, kneeling among herbs and soil, searching for calm in the rhythm of planting and tending. But even she cannot silence the echo of worry that beats beneath her ribs. She watches Jamie from the kitchen window as he walks the boundary lines at sunset, his figure framed in golden shadow. He carries himself with quiet strength, yet she can see the weight pressing down on him like a second skin. He bears it for them all, and it is slowly carving deeper lines across his face. At night they gather around the fire, the children giggling softly while the flames crackle. For a few moments the warmth almost feels real, almost enough to push the darkness away. But their eyes betray the truth. Roger's glance flicks to the door at every faint sound. Brianna's hands stay clenched even as she smiles. Claire's voice trembles on the edge of each story she tells to keep the children calm, and Jamie sits silent, his gaze fixed on the fire as if searching for answers in the shifting glow. They are together again, yet distance hums between them like a faint and growing tremor. The calm shatters without warning. It begins as a low rumble deep within the woods, a sound that seems to come from the earth itself. The animals sense it first. Horses stamp nervously in their stalls, and the hounds refuse to leave the porch. Even the birds fall silent as if the sky itself is listening. Jamie wakes before dawn, the air sharp and cold against his skin, and he knows something is coming. He feels it in the marrow of his bones, the same instinct that once kept him alive on blood-soaked battlefields. Smoke curls above the ridge just as the sun breaks through the horizon. Roger spots it from the riverbank, a thin black column twisting into the pale sky. He runs toward it, boots slamming against the frozen earth, his voice lost in the wind. The old storage barn stands in flames, its wooden frame groaning like a wounded animal as fire devours its walls. Brianna pulls the children back while Claire races for water, her breath tearing through her chest. Jamie charges straight through the smoke, shoulders squared, eyes blazing with a fury that has no room for fear. The flames roar higher, sparks raining across the yard. Amid the chaos, Claire catches a glimpse of something beyond the tree line, a shadow that vanishes the instant she blinks. Her heart stops cold. Someone was watching. She turns, but the smoke blinds her, swallowing the shape into gray haze. Jamie bursts from the collapsing barn, coughing, arms wrapped around what supplies he could save. His eyes meet hers across the chaos, and in that silent glance, she reads the truth. This was no accident. By nightfall, the fire is out, but the ridge no longer feels safe. The children sleep in uneasy silence while the adults sit in the dark, faces carved with exhaustion and fear. The night presses close around the cabin, heavy and still, as if the world is holding its breath. Somewhere beyond the trees, something stirs, patient and watchful. The peace they dreamed of is crumbling, and Jamie knows they cannot wait for danger to strike again. He stands slowly, shadow stretching across the firelit floor, and his voice is low but unshaking as he speaks. They will not run. They will not hide. They will protect what is theirs, no matter the cost. The ridge lies in silence beneath the moon, its edges wrapped in mist like the breath of sleeping giants. The fires are cold, the tools are still, and the cabins stand watch over the darkened fields. Jamie walks the porch alone, his steps soft against the worn boards, his figure etched in silver light. Each creak beneath his boots carries the echo of everything they have built, and everything they could still lose. He pauses at the railing, eyes scanning the tree line, searching for the unseen shape that has haunted the edges of their peace. Nothing moves, yet the forest feels awake, listening with ancient patience. Inside the cabin, Claire rests by the hearth, her head tilted against the chair, as the fire fades to quiet embers. The shadows dance across her face like fragments of old memories. She had hoped for stillness, yet her heart refuses to settle. Every whisper of wind feels like a warning carried on unseen wings. She closes her eyes for a moment and lets the rhythm of the ridge sink into her bones, steady and slow, the heartbeat of a place that remembers everything. Even as her body grows heavy with exhaustion, her hand never leaves the hilt of the knife resting on the table beside her. Far beyond the ridge, a lone rider moves through the night, the glint of steel hidden beneath his cloak. He does not hurry. He does not stumble. He follows the trail of their return with quiet certainty. The world sleeps, unaware of the storm riding closer with every measured breath. The ridge will wake to a new dawn, but it will not wake to peace. A slow swell of music rises, soft yet powerful, as the screen fades to black. The ridge appears again in golden morning light, untouched, silent, waiting. A single line of text burns across the screen as a heartbeat echoes in the dark. Outlander returns, where it all began. The final title surges forward in bold letters, framed by the whispering forest. Outlander Season 8, Episode 1. Back at Fraser's Ridge, stay ready. The past is coming home. The ridge has stood through storms, through fire, through every shadow that tried to tear it apart. Now it stands once more beneath the rising sun, waiting for the ones who dared to return. Jamie and Claire have come home to the place that made them, but the past has not finished with them yet. Every path they walk is lined with old echoes. Every corner whispers of unfinished wars and untold truths. The peace they dream of lies within reach, yet the cost of holding it will test every bond they have left. This is not just a return. It is a reckoning. Families will be forged or broken. Secrets buried deep will claw their way to the surface, and every soul who calls Fraser's Ridge home will have to decide who they truly are when the storm breaks over their door. The ridge remembers everything, and it will not forgive weakness. The fire is coming. The shadows are waiting. The past is already here. Outlander Season 8. Episode 1. Back at Fraser's Ridge. The beginning of the end begins where it all began. Stay ready. The ridge awakens soon.